Good evening, honored guests and friends of New York Blood Center, and welcome to this wonderful space tonight to celebrate the accomplishments of this esteemed organization. My name is Lauren Shields. I am 15 years old, and I have been asked to share some of my personal story with all of you. Thank you for this opportunity. I must tell you that I am so thankful for the work that you do. I am standing here before you because of that work. About 6 years ago, when I was 8, I went into sudden heart failure after a simple virus had attacked my heart. I entered the hospital with my heart functioning at only 14%. What came next was a 9-month odyssey at Columbia Presbyterian. Much of my time was spent in the ICU, and it was in January of 2009 that I was put on the organ transplant wait list with the highest status. You would think that I would be scared, but the truth is, I was just so tired of being sick all the time. I knew that a new heart was just what I needed. Mom and I tried to keep busy while I waited for my new heart to be found, but my other systems started to shut down one by one. It got to the point that even for me to speak took all the effort that I had. I was put on cardiac and respiratory life support on March 3rd, 2009, and a machine took over the pumping of my heart. I went off into a deep sleep, dreaming that an angel would save me. While I slept, the machines meant to keep me alive were causing havoc. I hemorrhaged constantly and required many blood transfusions. It is true to say that without the gift of blood donation, I would have never made it to or beyond my transplant day. Organ transplants and blood transfusion are very much linked together. It is because of all the hard work that you do that people like me make it safely to surgery. And so on March 19th, 2009, I had a heart transplant that saved my life. My journey was not an easy one at all, but I learned wonderful life lessons in the hospital. I learned what it is like to face fear and win. I learned to take things slow sometimes and take a moment to breathe. I learned that people can be so supportive and that sometimes it's the people you don't know at all that can help you the most. I learned just how much the people close to me love me. And I learned most importantly that when you get a second chance at life, it is your duty to pay it forward and do good for others. And that is why I'm here. I have celebrated 6 birthdays, saw 2 of my cousins get married, watched my brother go off to college, and I started high school all since my surgery. I owe this to my donor, but I also owe it to you. I hope that you go back to your offices tomorrow and share my story. But even more than that, I hope you share my thanks and gratitude. So tonight, I would also like to ask each and every one of you to consider signing an organ donation form and make an appointment to donate blood in the next month. I know it is a lot to ask from a 15-year-old, but you know that would make me, many others in need, and the man that I am about to introduce very, very happy. Enjoy your evening tonight, and thank you so much for your attention and support of the New York Blood Center. Thank you. So now, it is my privilege and true honor to introduce to you Dr. Christopher D. Hillier, President and CEO of the New York Blood Center.
In the hustle and bustle of New York, every once in a while, it's hard to remember just how personal the stories are, and that is the start of our way to world peace. So thank you, Lauren, and that story was phenomenally moving. I have the great privilege of being able to work with these young people every day, and to hear their stories and to know that what we do does matter. And so all of you and what you do for us does matter as well. So good evening and welcome to our biannual New York Blood Center Gala. I'm going to tell you how Howard's going to cure blindness in a minute, but I hope it'll help with this. Tonight is truly a great moment. It's a moment to honor great people and great partnerships, and to thank all of you and many, many more. New York Blood Center is a very special place. Conceived in 1958, born as it were in 1963, thanks to the many generous donors, citizens, and corporations of New York City. And since that time, New York Blood Center has become known really by 5 words: innovation, excellence, service, quality, and leadership. And tonight, we will see leadership. These are achieved through the hard work of our dedicated staff of over 1,250 people, professionals, doctors, senior leadership, who are always ready, and in fact most ready in times of trouble, from 9/11 to Hurricane Sandy. And in Hurricane Sandy, the East River rose up, and in our primary manufacturing site delivered 1 million gallons of water into our corridors, freezers, and laboratories. In our 52 years of service, we've supplied over 30 million blood products, working 24/7, 365, and we've never closed our doors, and we didn't in Hurricane Sandy. Every day we collect 2,000 units of blood, supply hundreds of millions of units of specialized clotting factors to hemophiliacs and others with complex bleeding disorders. We accomplish outpatient infusions through our pharmacy and visiting nurses, and we've done hundreds of thousands of specialized apheresis and medical procedures with our highly specialized teams of nurses and doctors. And we provide life-saving stem cell transplants to patients in now over 40 countries worldwide. Through our research institute, named the Lindsley F. Kimball Research Institute, NYBC inventors have brought to market the first hepatitis B vaccine, one of the first drugs for HIV/AIDS, and the nation's first stem cell product, licensed by the FDA, Hemaccord. NYBC researchers have cloned the antigens that sit on the red cell surface, the blood group molecules used in typing and in laboratory testing, and now in donor and recipient genotyping. And for years, we've been working on HIV vaccine trials and on vaccines for SARS and MERS. We're working presently on a pharmaceutical-grade red blood cell product that will be highly homogenized. Howard likes to call it super blood. I appreciate that personally. Using 3 key transfusion products we're putting together in a lyophilized plasma preparation that can be freeze-dried and stored for trauma on the battlefield, in hospital ships, and on helicopters and ambulances. One of the most exciting projects we're working on right now is very specialized stem cell products called iPSCs, which will be used first as a cellular therapy, part of our regenerative medicine program, to treat macular degeneration and the blindness it causes. And I imagine that all of us know someone who is affected by this. As you may have seen in the newspapers, the first steps were funded by the Howard and Abby Milstein Foundation, for which we are profoundly grateful. We estimate that it will take over $1.5 million just to make the first dose. And I want to add parenthetically, it gets cheaper after that. And for us to be able to do all these things depends on the generosity of you, our blood donors, our financial donors, and all of you at this dinner, and indeed across the country and the world. Tonight, we will have raised over $2 million, and for this, I thank you. I'd also like to thank our gala chairs who helped organize this great event in this great venue, and our Northeast and Midwest volunteers and our volunteer leadership teams, which span many of you at these tables. I'd like to say a special word, a personal word of thanks to our Board of Trustees. I think many people hear of board meetings and think that they're all stuffy or problematic. What we have is a phenomenal group of trustees, and everybody's individual expertise and collective expertise is brought to bear through Howard's leadership to all of us in the senior staff that get the privilege of working with these trustees. And if I could ask the New York Blood Center Board of Trustees to stand and have a round of applause. It's really a big job, and they do a lot of work. As you know, tonight we will induct a number of people into the Hall of Fame. We have so many great donors and partners, and we created several years ago this Hall of Fame of the extra special. And while Howard will be inducted into that after dinner, I'd like to say a personal thank you to Howard. He'll be our first individual inductee, and I want to recognize him for his unwavering support, vision, wisdom, and perhaps above all, his boundless energy and his personal commitment and dedication. I think no one in the Blood Center maybe knows the hours that Howard puts in, but he and I do, and it virtually is 24/7, and I greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Pablo Rubinstein. I have had the opportunity, the privilege, and the joy of working closely with Howard Mixon, our visionary chairman, for more than 2 decades. It is now my very special honor to introduce him as the first individual inductee to the New York Blood Center Hall of Fame. Time makes it impossible for me to list all of Howard's contributions to the New York Blood Center, to the city of New York, to the United States and the world. The honors bestowed on Howard, including France's Légion d'honneur, are also too many to do justice to, and I apologize to him and to you for that. The vast scale of Howard's engagement makes the earnest and methodical intensity of his dedication to each in so many fields quite awesome. In every case, Howard gets it, and then gets it done. His extraordinary leadership skills make a unique experience to witness him conducting a board meeting. Together with laser-sharp focus on each topic, he provides astounding recollection of any related fact ever mentioned during the last 20 years at the New York Blood Center Board of Trustees. He thus makes available context for every decision and shapes discussions to enable reaching a balanced consensus. His warm personality and wit always lift and enlighten the board's deliberations. It often seems as though Howard's primary job is the New York Blood Center and its needs. However, we know he creates a similarly indelible mark on many other philanthropic organizations in various fields, not only in the medical area, but also in education, the arts, international relations, and perhaps importantly in the civic area. And of course, he has to run many large and important businesses. All is possible because of the remarkable mental agility that enables him to absorb complex information of all kinds. Remember, he does get it. Howard seems to possess an extra gearbox that generates innovative ideas and solutions. Howard joined the board in 1993 and was the first blood center board member to fully recognize the importance and future of our work using cord blood stem cells as a substitute for bone marrow in clinical cases where having a matched and related donor was the only hope for people suffering from a number of diseases. His support and steadfastness has been critical ingredients in developing our program and has saved thousands of lives in the US and abroad. The cord blood program prompted Howard to undertake a leadership role in the ethical use of neonatal stem cells. Thus, in 2003, when Howard became chairman of the board, he also created the Howard Milstein Cord Blood Center at New York Blood Center and initiated a campaign to obtain federal support for cord blood banking for transplantation. That project, with Howard's enthusiastic participation, became law in 2005, and today cord blood is the source of donor tissue for approximately 20% of all stem cell transplants in the US. New York Blood Center alone has provided transplants to thousands of patients in almost 50 countries. During all this time, Howard has been a true partner to me and also a cherished mentor despite his youth. The program's product, Hemacord, was licensed by FDA in 2011 and received the Prix Galien USA Prize for the Best Biotechnology Product of 2014. These successes were sweet, but the one closest to Howard's heart was the key reason for his original involvement in cord blood. Cord blood succeeded in providing balanced access to stem cell transplantation for minority patients. In a recent example, a child from Mali was successfully transplanted for leukemia in Barcelona with one of our Hemacord units, the only donor match among the world's 27 million plus potential donors. Howard is now guiding us in and funding work to enhance the technology we developed in making umbilical cord blood useful, to embrace the entire field of regenerative medicine. In its early stages now, this work will enable us to repair or replace potentially every major organ in the human body. Howard Milstein's range of interest is both focused and extensive. He is a true 21st century Renaissance man of seemingly boundless energy, warmth, and humanity. Looking to history for a parallel figure, Lorenzo de' Medici, Il Magnifico, comes to mind. In fact, so much of what Howard has accomplished has been truly magnificent. Howard, we now present you with a memento of your induction into the New York Blood Center's Hall of Fame. It reads, "The New York Blood Center salutes Howard Milstein, Chairman of the Board of Trustees, for his tireless leadership, his dedication and commitment to New York Blood Center at home and throughout the world." Thank you.
Thank you. Come closer. Thank you, Pablo. I didn't realize we were going to get involved with history tonight, but I will get involved with history a little bit later. I want to first acknowledge, as you saw in the videos or in the photos as Pablo was speaking, there are many pictures of the Blood Center celebrating events with the New York City Fire Department. And we have the commissioner here this evening, Dan Nigro. Dan? And Dan, I just want to mention to you that when one of your predecessors, Nick Scoppetta, stepped down as commissioner, which we hope you don't do for a long time, he did then join the board of the Blood Center. And so there's a great tradition. And the things that we do with the FDNY are amazing. And you saw some pictures of the ceremony we have every year, the Honor Roll of Life, where we bring together the recipients of bone marrow donations from the New York City Fire Department, which is, they donate 100 times more per capita than the rest of the population. And so, Dan, send our love back to the FDNY. Now, I also want to mention that I'm delighted to receive this award, but of course, as you can imagine, in any organization as large as ours and as successful as ours, I'm the fellow who gets a lot of the credit, but the credit really goes to our remarkable Board of Trustees, our senior staff led so ably and dynamically by Chris Hillier. Oh, there you are, Chris. And all of the staff and the volunteer leadership. And I'll give you a little background. I said I would mention the history, and I'll come back around to Pablo at the end. So the New York Blood Center was founded, as was mentioned earlier, in 1963. The idea to found it started in 1958. And the way the idea came forth was that the then governor, Nelson Rockefeller, a man who did things on a grand scale, found out that a relative had not come out of the hospital at the time he was expected to come out of the hospital, and he made an inquiry as to what had occurred. And he was told, well, he got bad blood. And so the governor said, well, where did they get the blood? They said, well, they buy the blood down on the Bowery. So the governor said, well, what do you think you're going to get on the Bowery? How can we have that in New York State? So with one sweep of the hand, he made it illegal to buy blood in New York State. And with the other sweep of the hand, he called his brother David and said, I want you to organize the corporate community so that we can have blood drives and have good blood for any New Yorkers that need blood. And that was the birth of the New York Blood Center. And of course, in Rockefeller style, they attracted the world's leading hematologist, Dr. Aaron Kellner, to lead the institution and our research. And research from day one was an integral part of the mission of the New York Blood Center. And as time went by, we had many firsts, and we're really the world leaders and acknowledged to be so. In fact, keep in mind, 1960s, the early 60s was not that long after World War II. And because of Dr. Kellner's fame and the gratitude that Europe and the UK felt towards the US, until 1992, when mad cow disease struck and made it illegal to have blood from Europe, these countries sent the New York Blood Center 100,000 units of blood a year. So that shows the prominence that we had. Of course, that was a bit of a hill to climb in 1992 when we could no longer use the 100,000 red cells that we got from abroad. So one of the things, the great gifts that Aaron Kellner gave us, is he recruited Pablo Rubenstein. So Pablo is the man who gave me the award, and he said many overly generous things about me, but certainly many of them apply to him. And so it's my privilege to work with Pablo to endorse and support his vision to make sure that we do better for people all over the world, but especially in New York. So that's what we do. We do it every day. And I want to thank each and every one of you for supporting us in the so many ways that you do. And as I look out at the audience, I see the people from the New York Blood Center who I've worked with for more than 20 years. I see friends and relatives. I see the corporate community that supports us. And one thing to remember about the Blood Center, it's something that also brings the community together. Because while philanthropists can write checks, everyone can give blood. And so everyone can support the community by giving blood. Our motto is give blood, save a life. And we saw such a wonderful young lady this evening who's a perfect example of that. So thank you all for coming, and we hope to see you again soon, and thanks for your continued support.